Do you feel like your glass is half empty or half full? Perhaps finding yourself more open or closed to intimacy, moodiness, passion, fertility, both literal and metaphoric. These are all pressures, qualities, and questions that this cycle of the human design weather for February 18th to 24th, 2026 bring. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Human Design Whether or Not podcast with me, Margo Fraser. Well, we're just going to dive right into this cycle. It begins on February 18th at 11:51 a.m., going until the 24th at 1:49 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Universal time coordinates, it starts February 18th at 6:51 p.m., going until the 24th at 8:49 a.m. Remember to convert that to your own time zone so you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start with the Sun Earth activations as that 70% of the conditioning field. We have the sun moving into gate 55, the trait of spirit and abundance in the solar plexus emotional center. The emotional center is both a motor generating the ups and downs of the emotional wave and an awareness center, our emotional awareness. This trait is part of the individual circuitry that operates in a pulse of knowing and can bring mutation, something new, and something empowering for being uniquely you. Its keynote says abundance is strictly a question of spirit. This is really the representation of the glass half full people and the glass half empty people. What dictates that? It's your emotional spirit. This is the emotional center. Again, emotionality goes up and down because this trait operates in a pulse. That means it can spike way up or way down. You could find that one moment you're a glass half full person, and another moment you're a glass half empty person, looking on the bright side or being more pessimistic, respectively. Neither is right or wrong unless you get stuck at one end of the wave with the mind grabbing on to a perspective. I always have to be in an up mood, right? And not allowing the natural movement between the polarities. Going deeper into this trait, really it's about, wow, there's a glass and the glass is always there. My spirit may be soaring or it may be crashing, but it's always there. You can interpret spirit in a way as having passion or not. Emotionally, this trait can be very even and even seem non-emotional. But then when the pulse comes through, when it's triggered, it can spike way up or way down. So it can seem like that real hairpin trigger reaction, bursting into anger or bursting into laughter and joy. It's probably the most volatile of all the emotional gates. It is going to bring a moodiness to this cycle. There could be an opportunity with this activation to gain clarity on your passions or put energy towards them, what you love and what you don't. This gate is rooted in a social quality. So finding people that fill your cup and raise you up rather than empty your cup and drag you down can be really helpful. People who are a bit more knowledgeable than you, a bit more experienced, those that have a bit more wisdom and have that glass half full optimistic outlook could really pull you up to a higher level. This trait can also bring a romantic quality if you're in the mood. If you don't have this trait in your design, be very careful that you're not making a decision in the spike up or down that this activation can bring. Like all individual traits, it could also have you drop into melancholy around feeling empty. I have no passion. If that happens, don't make yourself wrong about it. It's just the biochemistry of the individual traits. This is a very acoustic trait, so listening to music that you're in the mood for could help you to move through it. And it's also helpful to channel this into something creative. If you have this gate in your own design, your mood is going to have a big impact on everything, on when you can eat, when you can work, when you can be social, and so on. Someone who's got the gate 55 should never be forced to eat when they're not in the mood. It can actually create eating disorders. Because this trait operates in a pulse, there can be a fickle quality to it. What you're in the mood for one moment could be different at another moment. The Earth has moved into gate 59, the trait of sexuality in the sacral center. The sacral center is that motor that generates that vital life force energy. This is part of the tribal circuitry with its underlying theme of mutual support. So, themes of feeling supported or not could come up this cycle. Its keynote says the ability to break down barriers to achieve union. It's part of the channel of mating. Your genes have a built in genetic strategy to determine who to intimately partner with, who to make more with, literally children, but also figuratively. Part of that genetic strategy lies in its electromagnetic partner, gate 6 in the emotional center. And gate 6 puts up the barriers to intimacy. Your reproductive genes don't want you partnering with just anyone, they need to be different enough. This gate 59, on the other hand, this trait of sexuality provides the genetic imperative to break down barriers to intimacy to achieve that union. It could be through pursuing others, through shyness, through experimenting. You could require, got to be friends first. There could be a seduction or looking for that soulmate. It's all in the genes. Those of you who have done my Decoding Your Design for Intimacy program will know what that is for you. Touch is important to the tribe, and you may find yourself more open or more closed to touch. And with the sun being in that gate 55, well, that could be dependent on your mood. There's an opportunity here to be able to move past those barriers with another to achieve a more intimate relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's friendship, or a business partnership, and to be able to create together. There's a creative fertility generally that this energy can bring to you. The caution is that the genetic imperative to make more, to bond with the other, has nothing to do with your I am essence of yourself or of the other. So it's going to take time to determine if a relationship can really satisfy the wholeness of you and not just the reproductive gene. So be careful about jumping into a partnership in these frequencies and the sense of intimacy that they can bring. When we look at the Sun Earth positions together, intimacy and sexuality will be influenced by mood, and you may gain an awareness in relationship of who lifts your spirit and who doesn't. Shared passions and romance may play a role in ways in which barriers are broken down and ways that relationships form. This combination also brings a reminder that there needs to be a place for individuality within the tribe in order to keep the gene pool healthy. Okay, let's look at our channels now. A reminder that when the transit field creates a channel, everyone that doesn't already have it in their chart is receiving activation of the related traits and qualities. So it has a big impact around the world. We have our long-term channel. We've been talking about this for a while now, and we will continue to because it started December 22nd and it's going until May 13th. This long-term transit is being created by the north and south nodes of the moon, and they're creating the channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole. The north node is activating gate 37, the trait of friendship and family. And the south node is in gate 40, the trait of deliverance and aloneness. As a channel, it's the channel of community, but also the channel of the marriage contract and agreements generally. So there's going to be a real emphasis this springs on fairness in relationships. Expect to experience and see the themes of loyalty and betrayal, jealousy and friendship, possessiveness and generosity. It brings energy to negotiate contracts, or we could see the breaking of agreements. It can bring a feeling of being taken advantage of or a feeling supported. And it's definitely going to bring more pressure to come together in family, in community. And there could be explosive emotional outbursts if there are those that are feeling taken advantage of. We have heightened willpower and emotionality with this channel present. So there could be that pushiness of willpower, and the greater highs and lows of emotionality are going to be there. This is the design of a part seeking a whole. So it's going to bring a pressure to find your place in your family, in your community, and spiritually in the totality. We could even see people joining communities that are not aligned for them just because they want to get some sense of belonging. There's also, though, the opportunity to understand in a greater way that living your unique design is what gives you your place in the totality. As the channel of community in the collective, it's also about trade. It's where we're bringing resources into the community, into the tribe, so that everyone's being taken care of. So trade agreements and relationships will be highlighted here as well. Okay, towards the end of this cycle, we have a medium term channel coming in. It starts 7:45 a.m. going until March 2nd at 11:05 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC, that's coming in February 23rd at 2:45 p.m. going until March 2nd at 6:05 p.m. We have Mars activating gate 30, the trait of recognition of feelings in the solar plexus emotional center, connecting with Pluto, activating gate 41, the trait of contraction and decrease in the root center. And we've had this one going in and out, and we're going to continue to see it with Pluto having that long-term transit in gate 41. Together, they create the channel of recognition, a design of focused energy. This is part of the abstract experiential circuitry. And here's the drive and pressure to enter into a new experience. It all starts with fantasizing about what that experience is that you really want to have in gate 41, and then focusing down to the one that's most of value and reasonable to complete through this channel, and recognizing that feeling that's really desired. What is it that you really yearn for? And then you have to wait with it. You kind of have to sit in that and see if it can really be fulfilled. See if this can really move up to the next gate in the stream, that gate 36, that is about really entering into the experience. So it's emotional, it takes time. This channel brings the potential challenge to unknown experience. What's around the next corner? What would it be like to? What are you really hungry for? It brings the opportunity to get clarity from all the new experiences that you might fantasize about having in the future, to narrowing that down to the one you truly desire. Now, there's a couple of rules of thumb for the experiential circuitry. One is that there can be no expectations. Very, very difficult with that gate 30, that gate of desire. This is the clinging fire. So something to watch for there. And you can only move through one experience at a time. Otherwise, it dilutes the lessons and the wisdom that you could get. Okay, we have two channels being created by transits to the moon. So they're just little samplers, as the moon only activates a gate or a trait for about 10 to 11 hours, give or take. The first one's coming in on February 20th at 2:58 p.m., going until the 21st at 12:39 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC, that's coming in February 20th at 9:58 p.m., going until the 21st at 7:39 a.m. We have the moon moving into gate 51, the trait of shock in the heart center, the ego center, that motor that brings willpower. It's connecting with its electromagnetic gate 25, the trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence, and universal love, being activated by both Neptune and Saturn in the G center. That's the center that's associated with love, identity, and direction in life. Together, they create the channel of initiation, a design of needing to be first. This is an individual channel that can bring a pulse of knowing of what leap into the unknown to take to stretch yourself, initiating you into a new sense of self, coming more deeply into yourself and being centered in that. This is part of the centering circuitry. That can be really empowering and support you in accepting yourself as you are. There's also an opportunity this channel brings to be able to adapt to any shocks that come in. However, what we most often see play out in the not self world is the detriment, and that's being competitive with others out of the ego. So instead of it being individual and really stretching your own limits, it's about, can I beat that other person, or can we beat that other business, whatever it might be. All right, next one's coming in on February 21st at 12:39 a.m., going until 10:19 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. UTC, that's coming in on the 21st at 7:39 a.m., going until 5:19 p.m. We have the moon moving into gate 42, the trait of completion and growth in the sacral center, connecting with Jupiter's position, gate 53, in the trait of beginnings in the root center. Together, they create the abstract experiential channel of maturation, a design of balanced development. This is one of the format channels, those channels that connect the root directly up to the sacral center. And so it brings this quality of cycles to everything else in the transit field. So this is about going through cycles of beginnings, middles, and ends towards gaining wisdom and growth. It brings a cyclical nature, as I mentioned, to every other trait. The opportunity is to start something new or take that next step in whatever experience you're in, or bring something to completion. Of course, if you're not following your strategy and authority, you could end up doing any of these things at the wrong time, completing something that's not meant to be completed yet, or starting something new when it's not time yet. So something to watch for there. That brings us to our long-term transits. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for longer periods of time, years in some cases. So the not self mind can start to think that they're part of your design, even when they're not. And then when that transit moves on, that can be quite confusing to the mind. Starting with the nodes in the transit field, they bring that homogenized perspective and direction, and that we'll see play out in the world. The nodes continue to bring that 3740 channel of community, a design of a part seeking a whole that we've also already talked about. Specifically, they're sitting in line 4. So we'll look at those themes. For gate 37, that trait of friendship, line 4 in the exaltation is where those that exhibit exemplary behavior and the highest principles will be seen as leaders over who would traditionally be seen as the leaders. In the detriment, though, only the traditional, typically that's the patriarchal leaders, are accepted, even if they're not good role models. Gate 40 in line 4 brings an ego that will organize work to balance work and rest. So that's a pretty supportive trait at the personal level. At the collective level, though, we're more likely to see the detriment where the ego will cater to anyone that strokes it, that massages it. So there's this spreading oneself too thin, which ultimately leads to less productivity. Moving to the outer planets now. Jupiter sitting in gate 53, the collective abstract trait of beginnings, expanding the pressure to start something new. It's in line 1 called accumulation. The exaltation here is the pressure to begin something new, not from scratch, but based on the foundation of the old. This is that introspective first line that wants a secure foundation. However, I'm not even sure that this exaltation is present in the world. Neptune hasn't activated this trait since 1909, so only if there's someone still alive from that time is the exaltation still available for us. In the detriment, there's a holding back and starting something new due to the criticism that was experienced previously. So that's where you see the insecurity of the first line really dominating here. Saturn and Neptune are both in gate 25, the individual trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence and universal love. Saturn is going to start the cycle in line 3, which is where Neptune is as well. That line's called sensibility. It has a developmental theme, so something that we learn over time, that says the recognition that innocent action does not in itself guarantee success, right? It's a very practical outlook. With this line, we have only the exaltation that's active in the world, and it says the power of the ego to withstand failure and still maintain its nature. The power of the spirit to withstand failure and shock. So quite a helpful quality to have activated in the world right now. Neptune's depth and psychic attunement can support this quality, although Neptune can also have a veiling quality that could make it more difficult to recognize. Saturn could really help amplify this quality of empowering your spirit to withstand failure and shock. On February 23rd at 2:14 a.m., Saturn's going to move into line 4 called survival. It also has a developmental theme that says the nature of true innocence can be maintained regardless of circumstances. The exaltation says the beauty of the rose in the garbage dump. Jupiter is also exalted. The highest principles, even amongst the greatest decadents, the spiritual warrior, the innocence maintained regardless of circumstances. No polarity, no planet in detriment. So Saturn can really support this being present no matter what with its quality of discipline. We have Uranus sitting in gate 8, the individual trait of contribution and holding together. This is the voice of I know I can contribute or not. It's in line 4 called respect. And this is where individuals can bring their unique contributions out to the community in an influential way. Fourth lines tend to be influential and seen as the leader, even though they may not technically be the leader. So we see a nice complement here to that line 4 in gate 37, the gate of friendship and family that we had. That is tribal, whereas this is individual. Now, we could also see out of this people making contributions that are not out of true creativity, but instead out of the ego need to impress others. Uranus can be sidetracking, so that could really take people in the community off track. Pluto's in gate 41, the collective abstract trait of contraction and decrease in the root center, that pressure to start a new experience, beginning with fantasizing. Now, it's in line 3 called efficiency. It has a developmental theme that says in times of decrease, selfishness is justified. Now, third lines have that theme of trial and error and bonds made and broken. So efficiency is going to come through trial and error. It's just not there to start with. So this is the energy that fuels the feeling for personal ambition. It's about figuring out on your own through trial and error which experience to go through, which feeling you really want, and bringing that drive to do it alone. In the detriment, there'll be this wanting to bring others into the experience. It is a collective gate after all, and share it with them. But that means more energy and resources are going to be used, and the other can influence the experience. So the purity, per se, of doing it your own way could be lost there. Now, it's just, I can't say that one is right or wrong. They're just two different ways to move through an experience. As long as you're following your strategy and authority, you'll follow what's correct for you. Overall, well, the big theme is emotionality. I mean, look at that solar plexus emotional center. We have the channel of community activating that emotional center and bringing its ratchet wave. It means that everyone will be impacted by the sun's position in that moody gate 55. We also have Mercury activating gate 22, the individual trait of grace and disgrace for almost the full cycle. And Mars is in the tribal gate 49, the trait of higher principles and revolution. And it's going to move into gate 30, still in the emotional center on the 23rd, to connect with that gate 41 we talked about, creating the channel of recognition. So we're going to need extra strong surfboards to ride out all these different waves that are going to be created. We've got romance, moodiness, passion, and dispassion, volatile emotions, attentive listening or not through that 22, spirits that are lifted or pulled down, all within the context of community. These are all things that we'll see play out in the world. I'm paying special attention to that hasty Mars sitting in gate 49, the emotional trait of revolution that's there until the 23rd, paired with the potential volatility of the 55 and 22 acting out in the community. And remember, the tribal community can be at the level of family, a community group, a nation, right? There's all many different levels of the tribe per se. And other than the moon at the very start of the cycle, there's no logic here. So, yeah, people throwing things out into the world that are not based in fact is something we may also see. Okay, remember that the transit field brings the traits that have the potential to homogenize us to their conditioning. And so it's what we do see play out in the world where most people are not self rather than living their unique designs. With awareness, you can observe and learn from these frequencies rather than having them run you. Okay, that brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. And if you're new to human design and want to understand the basics of the body graph at a high level, what are the red and the black about? What are the geometric shapes about? A bit of background on the system. You can grab my free Human Design Basics mini course. It's at margogfraser.com/human-design. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'm always very grateful if you can give the episode a like and subscribe if it's correct for you. All right. So, as I mentioned, keep those surfboards out to ride these emotional waves. You may get clarity on or energy to put towards your passions and also who the people are that generally tend to lift your spirit. There's the potential for establishing a one-on-one relationship at whatever level that might be, but take your time to see if it really holds up through the emotional ups and downs. Okay, well, have a great cycle and may you know, live and love the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.